Hi and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to make a video with my mom, who's here beside me. Okay, so this is my mom. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself a little. You haven't really been on. I've always talked about my mom, but I've never really shown her who she is.
Here I am. So I'm Siri and I'm Issy's mom. So I'm a yoga meditation teacher since many years. The last 7 years or so I've studied neuroscience and behavior, cognitive behavioral therapy, compassionate focus therapy, mindfulness and brain health coaching. So I'm very interested in body and mind and soul.
So we're going to make a video talking about her experience and her advice and thoughts when I was sick, my eating disorder. I will link down in the description below the videos when I talk about my experience and my journey. But I thought it was important to also share the other side of it, that you've always heard me talking about my struggles and my experience when I was sick. But I think my mom can offer very good advice from someone on the other side. And we've talked a bit about it, like afterwards, and kind of like when I was recovered in that. But it's still, I think, a kind of sensitive topic. Like, I mean, there's a lot of emotions involved, and there's a lot of like memories and tough times. So, yeah. Like, we have talked about it, but I think also that,
Yeah.
I don't know how you think about it, but
Of course it's it was a very painful period in my life, as well as yours and all family members as well, and extended family. But on the other hand, I am just so happy and relieved now, since we see 5-6 years.
yeah, something like that.
That you are recovered. But if I can be of any help or assistance or just my experiences, I'm happy to do that. And I like to say that I'm not claiming to be an expert. And actually, one of the difficult things during this period when Issy was sick was that so many people consider themselves an expert. So everybody and anybody seemed to have a lot of opinions and knowledge and advice around eating disorders, and some of these opinions and actually made more harm or was quite hurtful. Because they used to think psychologically that it was the mother's fault always if the daughter was sick or so forth. So hearing those things were quite painful. And of course that is not what modern science is saying. It has nothing to do with the mother as such.
I talked about that in the previous video, which I will link below. But like, some nurses on that were kind of mean to you or rude, where they thought it was your fault on that, which I don't think is okay. So yeah, I got some questions on my Instagram. It's a healthy lifestyle, which I thought I would ask my mom. But I think we're just kind of begin. You can talk about your experience and things like that, and we'll take it from there. What were your first, or how did you notice?
When I first noticed it, I would say it was because you had just started secondary school. And being a young teenager and going to new high school, and I noticed you seemed to feel a lot of pressure and quite stressed out. So I thought that is quite normal, but still worrying. I mean, it was worrying to hear about where you were supposed to have your lunch in the school, that there was no proper canteen or cafe or any place quiet and nice to sit and eat, that you would actually have to sit in the corridors and whatever. You know, the whole school situation was not ideal at all, but it was the nearest secondary school to our area, and it was still 45 minutes an hour on the bus, and it would have been even further to another one, so we chose this one, but it was not ideal at all. And I think because we were divorced and you spent the weekdays with me and the weekends with your dad, and the way I had to support the family, I sometimes had to work evenings, and you and your sister, I made you dinner and then you would eat it yourself, but of course I couldn't keep control if you had eaten or not, and often you said you had to take your dinner up to your room because you had studies to do and so forth. So I think it might have been a while before I really suspected, because you had never had any problems with eating. You would eat anything and everything, I would say.
Yeah.
So I never considered you difficult to cook for or anything. Yeah. But I guess maybe it was your sister saying, because she would be home, she said, I'm not sure if Izzy actually had her dinner and so forth. And then we started to look into it and check your weight was going down and so forth.
And what were your thoughts? Or like,
it was very worrying, of course. But then again, with the teenage years are a very vulnerable time in anybody's life, and particularly now in this modern life we're living, with the pressures and social media and internet and everything. And also, I know in addition with your cystic fibrosis and so forth, that you had extra pressure on yourself. And of course for you it was even more important not to lose weight, because you had this need for extra calorie intake. But I did feel quite reassured, because we had a continuous appointment with the cystic fibrosis clinic, that we were already kind of in a context where you could get help.
I talked a bit about when I was in the kids psychiatric, but like a lot of what I talked about is my experience, and like I said, a lot of it was kind of a blur for me, like dates and things I've gotten kind of wrong, and like my experience is different from yours, and I kind of experience things differently than like I could have thought that nurses or that were really mean to me, or people were rude or things like that, but like maybe from your side, like, oh, but they were just trying to help you, or
Yes.
like what was your kind of experience? Like, I guess we can talk about when I was in treatment.
In Ireland.
Both in Ireland and then when I was at Mando. So what did you think of the treatment? Kind of what were your thoughts when I was there? You can talk kind of freely.
I thought, because I had never been in contact with eating disorders before as such, not as closely as my own child, I relied a lot on what the hospitals and the care was offering, and of course followed the advice and their suggestions and so forth. As it turned out, the care for anorexia and eating disorders at that part of the country in Ireland we were in were not very modern and up to date, and there were no specific care, so you ended up in, as you said, a kids psychiatric unit, mixed with a lot of other patients with quite severe diagnoses and so forth. And I think the care there did you no good, and I was actually worried about experiences you had there that would actually make things worse, so to speak. So I was quite happy when the cystic fibrosis clinic at the hospital said you were still losing too much weight, you had to be hospitalized and get the feeding tube, because there was a way to actually leave that place, which I was happy about. Though it was very sad and quite traumatic for me to see you with the feeding tube and when they did the procedure.
Okay. And then it was you who made the decision that we would move to Sweden?
Yes, I did after a while, because things were not improving and things were not really ideal at the hospital either. And I was taking advice from trained people, both friends I have and family members, and I was taking advice also from Sweden, and just gathering as much as knowledge and information as I could. And the conclusion I came to was that the care for people with eating disorders were more advanced in Sweden. So I took the decision that we had to go there. And these are the decisions, tough decisions you have to make as a parent, but I'm sure all your parents understand that it is possibly the worst nightmare in your life when your child is sick and suffering from potentially fatal disorder. So you really have to understand that, and sometimes you have to make tough decisions. So we left Ireland, and I left my business, the house, everything just up the sticks, and moved myself and my 2 children back to Sweden, which was a huge decision for all of us, but I'm very glad I did it now, because things have turned out right.
I was thinking then, if you have any advice to give to like parents, or if it's like even sisters or partner or someone who is struggling with an eating disorder.
I would say you really need to look after yourself and your own energy, because it's so very draining, and you can become sick yourself from stress and exhaustion, depression and what have you, and of course anxiety and bad sleep from the worry over your child. So really make sure that you get the support you need from family and friends. But of course the whole family and the closest family is affected by this, but maybe friends and extended family can help you, and also at work to understand that you're going through things and that you need to prioritize these things in your life. But look after yourself and find your own time where you can relax and recuperate and recharge as much as possible. Maybe treat yourself to go to massages or spend time out in nature and so forth. It's really, really important, so that you will last the whole journey until your child is well again. So for me, it was yoga, meditation every day, and also prayer. And I did it every day because it kept me sane and it kept my mind clear. And it gave me a time to recuperate. So I would say really look after yourself and your own needs. And also I would say never ever give up. Even when it's really tough, never give up. Things will get better. And the more you can keep calm and be there for your child when they are going through all these things, and the pain you're feeling at seeing your child in this state. Never give up hope. Keep the hope. Keep the flame of hope both for yourself and for your child. When your child can't see it or feel it, you have to carry that hope within you.
But like, what I usually say is that, you know, no one else can recover for you. But like family and friends and treatment and all that, they can be there to support you and like give you advice and help and just like be there for you. But then it's the person who is sick that needs to make the hard decisions and face the like the fears and all that, the mental challenges. But like something I've noticed both for myself and from like stories from others, and that is that a lot of people can give up on someone who is sick, which like isn't so strange in a way, because like you said, it's very mentally draining, or like it drains your energy to see someone who is sick.
It can take such a long time as well, and to last the whole journey.
Exactly. But like it doesn't help either the person who is sick to like when people give up on them either, because you already feel so alone in your own, like you feel like you're the only one struggling and you just feel very alone. So then to have family and friends or partners or whatever to give up on you as well. But at the same time, I think that sometimes as a person on the outside, you also need to be able to step back when it's draining you of too much energy as well. Because like you said, you also need to take care of your own health. And like to be able to be like, now I just kind of need a moment for myself to gather my own energy, but I'm still always here to support you and help you. But so like you don't get sick or burnt out yourself. I also got a question which was, what did my mom do anything specific that helped me? And like I said before, I think just the fact that she was always there through everything, and like we were always trying to fight for my best. So I mean, I didn't always see it that way. We did fight a lot, and they were like, of course you fight when you just want to like help me, and I don't want that.
Fight with you?
More like when it was time to eat or things like that. But like, I mean, you've always been there and like wanted my best. Like when I had time out from Mando, we would go out and sit in the sun or go out in nature, or like you gave me the freedom I also needed. That you were strict when you needed to be. You sat there and you made me eat and all of that. But you also gave me the freedom that like you can choose sometimes, and like you gave me space as well, that when I came home during visits or like time out, that I was allowed to sit in the room or in the room on my own and things like that. So it wasn't that you were always there, because when you're in treatment you're always watched. There's always someone there with you, and I think that just like you're treated as a child when you're sick. You're not allowed to make any decisions yourself. And some people can talk to you like you're 5 years old. And I think just to be kind of treated like the age you are, and that you are mature and you can have your space, helped me.
I think what I wanted to do was to always treat you with respect. Because no matter what, if you're a patient or suffering from something, you always need to treat a human being with respect. And I don't think I have the personality to get really angry or upset or shout or nag somebody into. I think I was always pleading to your own intelligence. So to speak, and also that you could trust me, that I would always do what I consider was the best for you, and that I would fight for you, even in cases of if he was in hospitals and things like that, that I didn't agree with, that I would take that fight. Not that I would fight, but I would maybe come with knowledgeable arguments and so forth, or in some cases just do things that I really believe would be a better way. Like, I do believe that being out in nature and sunshine and also doing fun things might be a bigger carrot for actually wanting to get back into life, so to speak. And that would ignite something in you to want to get better and feeling safe with that.
Then I guess, like, what signs or what would you look out for? Would you say to, like, if a parent or a family member, like, what should you look out for? Like signs?
If you suspect
Yeah.
somebody is becoming sick, maybe that you don't actually see them eat, and they withdraw more and more, and they find excuses for that they have eaten already, or they're gonna eat later, or eat in the room, that you don't actually see them put the food in their mouth and so forth. And yes, and maybe seeing them becoming thinner by wearing baggier clothes and so forth.
Okay. How did you cope, or like what did you do when I had anxiety around food, or like if I panicked, or?
It depended a lot on where my energy and where my mood was. Of course, it's a very tense situation, but when you learn to understand and kind of cope with yourself and just staying calm, that is very important, because emotions are contagious, and if I would go into your anxiety, it would just escalate. So as a mom, I really had to work on my inner calm and my inner strength, and somehow be like a lighthouse or an anchor in your distress. And part of that is not to get too frightened. Of course you get frightened and frustrated and so worried, but always keeping and reminding oneself of that hope and trust that things will get better, and we will get through this situation, and we will get through this whole thing. I mean, mental illnesses and so forth are, it can happen to anybody. And of course the teenage years are so vulnerable. And just staying calm, working on your own calm and your own trust and faith that things will get better.
Okay, when did you then begin to like trust me and give me more freedom? Like, when did you begin to think that, okay, maybe I can give you more freedom now, and that like things are on the right way?
I think because you were on this treatment, Mando, which is really good because you have the follow-ups all the time until they actually declare you to be fully recovered. So I trusted that, you know.
But like, when did you think that, you know, maybe I don't need to worry so much, that like I know she can be out living life or meet with friends or work out or whatever without me having to worry that something bad is, or that she's doing it for the wrong reasons?
I can't actually say exactly. I did feel confident with having this working partner in Mando, that when they considered you fully recovered. But also, as a parent, you can't control your child. I mean, I can't lock you up and so forth. Somewhere I have to trust, but also recovery can take time, and there's ups and downs and setbacks and everything. So that's why you have to be consistent and you have to last the whole journey. But you can't control somebody. But the positive thing is that as your child gets older, the brain will actually develop, and they will start and use more and more of the brain, maybe slowly coming to the conclusion that this is not a good idea. I actually want to feel better. And also one thing about the brain, if your child is not eating, the brain will make sure it gets the nutrients. That's so sophisticated because the brain and the nervous system is so important that neurobiologically the brain will make sure it gets the nutrients first. That's the priority. So don't worry about your child's brain. I mean, obviously your brain survived.
Maybe. No, but also that like when you don't eat enough, your brain isn't getting the right glucose or energy. So
it's true.
So I mean, you can't think straight either.
No.
Like that is one of the first things that like when you begin eating again, your brain gets more energy, and then it's easier to kind of like think and to make better decisions.
Yeah.
But like if you aren't eating, then it's like,
No.
of course you're going to feel awful and you're not going to be able to think straight and don't have any memory and you're tired.
Yeah.
So like learning to eat again and gaining weight if you need to is like part of recovery. But also that you can't really face those fears or like really recover if your brain isn't getting the nutrients.
No, that's true.
So even if like just eating and gaining weight isn't, like that's what many think, that like many think that you just need to gain weight and then you're recovered. So like, oh okay, just because you're eating or just because you're a normal weight, then you're no longer sick. But like I've said that it's like I still had things I had to work on even after I was a normal weight. And it wasn't just like, oh, I'm no longer inpatient now. Like all of those things take years, and it's these small things you need to change and like face fears and all of that. And I think that's what many kind of like there's things in daily life that you need to change, and you can't do that while you're in treatment because the like fears and challenges are out in the real life.
That's true.
It's not just eating and then you're recovered.
No.
Do you have any last thoughts or anything you want to share? Any advice?
I think, the things I like to put across is look after yourself, prioritize the time so you make the changes you need to do with your work and other commitments that might have to step aside during this time. To never ever give up, always keep the hope and the flame that things will be all right. You just have to go through this journey for whatever reason. And also that you might feel you need to go and talk to somebody to get support, because sometimes your closest family are so upset. You might need to hide your own emotions and stresses and worries, and you can't really talk. So talk to a good friend or go to talk to some professional that you trust and feel an alliance with, everything to support you. And also the same thing for other family members, that you get the support network that you need for the whole family to go through this.
Okay. That was the last question. So I want to thank you for making this video with me, taking the time to film this.
Well, thank you. I hope I've been of any help.
I hope so as well.
I wish anybody luck and everybody.
Good luck on this journey.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, it's tough to talk about, but it's like, if you know that you can maybe help at least someone, hopefully more, then it's worth it to like talk about these things and to share. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, you can leave them down below and I will try my best to answer them. I will answer them. Don't forget to like the video and hit the subscribe button. And thank you for being here. I will see you all next week with a new video. Okay.
Fråga igen då.
Any last words? Any last thoughts? Har du något du vill tillägga eller en fråga du vill besvara? Något som du tycker är viktigt att meddela till folket?